Welcome friends to another 40k video. Today we draw from Assassinorum Divine Sanction by Robert Rath. How will the operation go for this Callidus assassin? Friends, let's find out. A confessor preaches to an expectant crowd. Out of sight behind him, Thaccius Velso shows he knows the speech. Velso is learning how the confessor speaks and moves. Nearby, Mascella Rask says they don't need two masters of divinity. Rask was in charge of the confessor's security, and she leaves to check on that, leaving the sermon writer with the confessor. The writer is really an assassin called Sycorax. She thought how easy the speech-writing role was, one of the earliest lessons in the Callidus temple. Take the place of someone unlikable and you'll go undetected until the emperor rises. In this guise, she had seen the confessor, Ilsander's duplicity, his dealings with a Tau delegation. She was mentally identifying as a woman again, slowly reverting to her real identity. Not the male body she'd been wearing the past 3 months, so she needed to get this mission finished quickly. Her psycho-indoctrination training ran so deep that during longer operations, her assumed identities took over the conscious mind, and her true self merged into the black waters of the subconscious. Her studies of the confessor were complete. She says to him the reason everyone listens is because they are hungry and disenfranchised, and she openly asks what the Tau gave him, saying she wants a cut and to help him with his speeches. As she waits the evidence of his confession, she decides how she's going to kill him, the killing blow, after which she will assume his form. And he's starting to respond when his head explodes. Ilsander's face disappeared in a cloud of blood, grey matter spattering a centuries-old tapestry. A piece of skull shrapnel tore Sycorax's cheek open. She finds cover and asks herself if the mission can be salvaged. She was going to use his form to out the industry lords allied to the Tau. The trajectory of the sniper shot looks impossible. It would have come from the tower of St. Goneril, but it was 2 miles away, so the firer would have no line of sight and would have to both penetrate the fortress's refractor field, which would cycle every half a second, then go through the wall. Only one trained by the Vindicare Temple could make the shot. Sycorax had no time to ponder. She would have to put on some weight to be the confessor and find what she wants. In 3, 2, 1, polymorphine hit her bloodstream, small seizures, pain, a sensation like being crushed inwards. She would usually slip from one body to another. Now there was too much physical difference, and she needed to enter a gentlest state first and become a sculptor's model. As she focused to change to the confessor, she heard a click. It was Rask, the confessor's security. Rask shoots, and Sycorax shielded herself with her case and went behind a huge marble desk which ate up further shots. She hears Rask say that the Tau have killed the confessor, and Sycorax makes a plan. Rask thought she was a Xenos assassin. She could use that, and so tries to call a truce, and says the confessor died because he called her Xenos scum. From her case, Sycorax quickly puts together her neural shredder and let off a desperate shot. It would sever neurological pathways and interrupt nerve functions. Rask did go down, but not quickly. The shot must have glanced her only. Saying the greater good, Sycorax snapped her face sword together, and it was then that Rask managed to say a trigger word, and howls came from the corridor outside, and 2 penitent engines stormed the room. A penitent engine killed whatever was in front of it. The long exoskeleton arms made simian swipes as it advanced on the assassin. Sycorax wondered what this woman had done to be put into the engine, and somersaulted away from its saw blade and fired with her shredder. The blast of unreality hit the engine, but it kept coming. The pathways were already sundered. With no target, the engine cut through anything in its way, and ultimately it hit the railing and toppled over the balcony and down, way down, to the praying crowd outside. The next engine followed. Taurus, the man arched his back, wrist-thick tubes of magnetar liquid pumping into his eyes, exoskeleton arms raised in threat. Sycorax leapt over its chain blade and fired. Nothing happened. The first engine she sees has sundered the gun's blade. She leapt behind the desk and the engine cut through it. The smell of glowing metal and hot stone filled her flattened nostrils. Sycorax stabbed with her phase sword, but realised she could not defeat the engine at these close quarters. Its blade came down. She rolled right. It parted some of her synth skin, and it was then she saw hope. The phosphorus spray, meant to dissolve bodies. It bubbled the skin of the penitent, and she leapt on it. Her crackling phase sword entered its head, and she continued to desperately stab till it was alive no more, if you could consider it being ever alive. Without respite, Rask then appeared with a sword, and Sycorax saw guards behind her blocking her only means of escape. Rask says maybe they can come to an arrangement, and says play this right, and when the tower arrive, they can both get what they want, not knowing who she speaks to. Rask says there will be no Assassinorum dogging our steps. Sycorax says, I am the Assassinorum. And then they fight, and the assassin's stiletto bends against Rask's breastplate. Rask was good, and Sycorax was drained and was forced back. A cut caused her synth skin to tighten and staunch the flow of blood. And then she had nowhere to retreat to. She was on the balcony. Rask says the crowd will see her end the life of the Confessor's Xenos assassin. Sycorax blocked one stroke with her sword's vambrace, and Rask's sword cuts into it and renders the phase off. Blades crossed. The assassin desperately stared back and made her face into Rask's, who recoils in disgust. Sycorax grabbed Rask's breastplate and pulled whilst shoving the power sword up, and Rask was thrown over her head into the cycling force field, killing her instantly. Guards came in to see the carnage, and the assassin had escaped. And with the anger at the death of their confessor, the mob, who had been praying below, attacked and removed the Tau delegation. The Tau themselves held out for only an hour. Sycorax, meanwhile, traced the original sniper shot, avoiding the traps, and asks herself who had the bullet been for. She found the shooting position and the Exitus rifle used to make it. She found the data card also, ran the decrypt, and found 2 words: Operation Vendetta. And that, friends, is where we will end today's video. Drop me a comment down below. I'm going to try and do some more Assassinorum videos in the future based on the short stories written. So we'll hopefully come back to the subject soon.